parasites are quite off-putting. I will rate them in flamethrowers. More flamethrowers, worse the parasites. Grab your popcorn and let's begin. Let's start with a parasite which is not dangerous to humans, cordyceps. It has over 600 species, which is a type of fungus which wrecks various insects. Not only they basically turn insect material into mushroom matter, they also alter insect behavior. Let's take ants for example. Once cordyceps spores enters the body, ant starts to climb higher and higher. Why? Because higher means better spread of spores. Once cordyceps fruit emerges from insect's body, it sprays its deadly spores around. That's the last of ants. Such fungus can wipe out whole colonies. Thankfully, humans are not hosts for such shrooms, but those who have weakened immune systems can be threatened by other types of fungal infections. Actually, over 1 million of people die from that every year. For example, coccidioides fungi can be found in soil and may infect our lungs when we breathe in their spores. 1% of people can die because it may spread to the brain. Not as dramatic as cordyceps, but still pretty bad. Here's another strange and unique parasite which makes itself part of fish organ. By the way, it is an isopod, which is a distant relative to stuff like prawns, shrimps and crabs. First it enters fish through its gills, after that it moves to fish tongue, cuts its blood circulation which causes the tongue to fall off. Then it attaches himself to remaining stub of a tongue and acts like nothing happened. These isopods either feed on fish blood or mucus. I think tongue isopod is the most wicked isopod parasite because others simply attach themselves wherever on the fish and just feed. Scabies is a type of disease caused by a very small parasitic mite. They can spread if people rub at each other for prolonged times. Why would they do that? I have no idea. Anyway, once these mites migrate to other hosts, they start burrowing into the skin, creating various tunnels. Other animals have their own type of mites which, for some reason, have trouble infecting other type of animals. The disease produces itchy skin rashes because these mites are eating and creating holes in the skin. Not only that, but they also lay eggs in their burrows. Prevention is simple. Don't touch infected person. Also, there are various types of treatments. To be honest, it is not that bad when compared to other parasites in this video. Plants get no love here, so I feel obliged to at least mention one called ghost pipe. Unlike ordinary plants, this one is not green since it has no chlorophyll. It generates its energy not from the sun, but by being a parasite to fungus called Russulaceae, which gets their nutrition from the trees. This strange ghost plant attaches its roots to mushroom and sucks its nutrients, which allows plant to live in complete shade. This one is actually quite easily preventable. Simply don't eat snails, freshwater prawns, crabs, and just cook everything. Cooking is your friend. However, you can also catch it by eating unwashed salad since snails like to hang out around them. These worms don't reproduce in humans, we simply are an accidental host. But we still can suffer, especially if these worms migrate to our brain. Since they are kinda lost in unfamiliar hosts, they simply die and create an inflammation, which is an undesirable thing, especially in our brains. This can leave people with permanent damage and chronic pain for the rest of their lives. These worms can also sometimes end up in eyes. These small roundworms are up to 1.6 mm in length and can be transmitted through eating raw meat of omnivore animals. That includes pigs, which is probably the biggest cause of trichinela infections. One of the reasons why pork has to be always well cooked is these suckers. For example, beef steaks can be only cooked on outside, because cows don't typically eat meat, so they don't contain trichinella roundworms. If this meat contains trichinella larvae, it will go to our intestine, grow and start releasing eggs which, thanks to our bloodstream, will travel and infiltrate our muscles. This can repeat for a long time until victims' muscles will be full of larvae. Thankfully, there are various medicines such as mebendazole which can kill various types of parasite, including trichinela. This one is quite unique because you don't need to swallow it. Imagine just going to a lake to stand in it. The water line could be anywhere, even below your knees, and you get infected by small flatworms. How do they get inside our bodies? Well, they burrow inside through our skin. Another name for this infection, you may have heard it. It is called swimmer's itch. Once you have your fun in the water, you find yourself covered with small red pimples. These are places where these parasites have entered your body. Once they get in, they turn into adult flatworms which are around 1 centimeter length or 0.4 inch. They migrate into the gut and start multiplying. If untreated, these devil spawns can live in their hosts for years, causing many problems. This one is particularly scary parasite. It may affect liver and we don't want that here. As a typical parasite, they can survive long enough for the host to give it a name. About a couple of decades. Since these flatworms keep living inside bile duct, these organs keep getting inflamed, which eventually ends up with cancer. So how can we prevent such disgusting creature from entering our bodies? By using an intricate invention called fire. Raccoon roundworm can complete its life cycle only in raccoons. However, if they are ingested by any other animal, they get haywire. For some reason, instead of staying in the host's gut, they often migrate to the brain and can cause serious neurological damage and possibly death if untreated. How to prevent it? Don't touch raccoon's poop. Have fences to prevent them from entering your premises and keep your animals away. Around 90% of raccoons carry such parasite. If they get inside your garden or home, you have to clean their latrines with boiling water, steam or fire, which is my preferable method. I don't want to scare you, but apparently these parasites are found in the Amazon River, and if some guy decided to pee while swimming, their dicks may be invaded by the parasites. It is a fish species called candiro. They mainly are parasitic fish which infiltrate other fish and feed on their blood. Even though these cases are based usually on anecdotal evidence, there are claims that these fish can travel through penis, urethra and hang out in bladder where it feeds on blood. Since there are not many proven cases, I will be conservative with the rating. Ticks suck, but one type of tick sucks more. It is called lone star tick and it has one peculiar effect. There is this chance that after being bitten by this parasite you will develop allergy to red meat products, and that's the reason why I gave it such a high rating. But how it can cause such effect? Is this a spell? How does it work? Well, when these ticks bite, they release alpha-gal, galactose molecule, which is found in most mammals besides monkeys, apes and us. So when our body detects this alpha-gal together with the tick's saliva, it thinks that alpha-gal molecule is bad. However, it is not true. Once our body software is overwritten and we eat red meat, our body thinks that it's under attack again and it creates allergic response. There are only 2 patients which have cured from such allergy. I hope there is no vegan supervillain out there. Even though this worm doesn't affect humans, the sheer disgustingness factor is enough for it to earn a high flamethrower rating. This horsehair worm doesn't act as parasite when it's adult, it only escapes its insect victims. However, when it is in a baby form, it enters the host's body, feeds on its nutrients. When it reaches a sufficient size, it manipulates its host to go to freshwater source and drown itself. Then this worm, which often exceeds 1 meter length or 3 feet, emerges and lives in water. Kinda reminds me some monsters from movies. It is spread through bites of a black fly. Once the larvae get through a wound into the body, they form a protective nodule around them and start growing for next year. This bump under the skin gets big enough to look like this. After these worms mature, they slither out of their protective nodules to mate with females. Basically, an orgy is happening under the skin. Thousands of eggs are laid in the skin, and once the black fly returns to feed on humans, they ingest and spread the disease again. This larva can move almost everywhere, and that often means eyes, which causes blindness. One guy, before he lost his vision, said that he could see worms moving inside his eyes, up and down. There is a treatment, like for example ivermectin, but afflicted person will have to take it for more than 10 years because adult worms are not affected, only their babies, and adult worms can live up to 14 years, which means that they keep spawning their babies for more than a decade. Even though this parasite is quite big, which is around 3 meters or 10 feet length, it is not that dangerous when compared to other much smaller parasites, but it's absolutely disgusting. Taenia is also a unique type of worm since its primary host is us. We get it by eating raw pork, and pigs get it if human feces somehow end up in their diet. These worms primarily are prevalent in poor regions where pigs roam freely and eat everything they find. Young larvae can migrate through body and form protective cysts, which with time calcifies and may disturb victims' organ function. I shuddered when I found some pictures which shows that some patients were infested with these worms and most of the bodies are riddled with these cysts. You can clearly see these white spots, which is the cysts. Interestingly, many decades ago, women would ingest pills with tapeworm egg in order to lose some weight. I rather run around in a pine forest without shoes than ingest this stuff. Lymphatic filariasis is also known as elephantiasis because affected people's extremities resemble those of an elephant. The main culprit parasite is Vaucheria bancrofti, which is a species of parasitic worm that infect lymphatic system. The lymph system is a complementary circulatory system which delivers our immune system cells. These worms are delivered by the very same bullshit animal, mosquito. These worms enter the body and travel to lymph nodes where they achieve their max size of around 10 centimeters or 4 inches. Once they mature enough, they release their babies into the blood, which is later sucked by mosquitoes, continuing the cycle. So why in some cases humans develop oversized body parts? This doesn't mean that these parts are full of worms. It's actually accumulation of repetitive damage on the lymph system. Thankfully, there is medicine. However, those with really disfigured bodies can't return to normal. And you thought that our parasites suck? Crabs have it rough. A barnacle species called sacculina enters crab through its joints. Later it grows root structure which helps sacculina suck all the nutrients. Later this parasite emerges like some sort of a sac, and it usually emerges near crab's thorax, a place where the crab's eggs would be incubated. Basically pretending it's crab's baby. Then it destroys crab's genitalia, making the crab permanently infertile. Did it finish its evil business and left the poor crab alone? No. When sacculinas mate inside the crab, these parasites create hormonal imbalances which shape-shifts male crab to resemble female crab. For example, here is a normal male's belly, then there is a female's crab underbelly, and here is a male affected by sacculina parasite. Not only that, but the crab sometimes also dances like a female. The nature is quite weird, bro, I know. So this poor crab with the destroyed identity acts like a female crab and helps sacculina's parasite by spreading it the same way they help their crab baby spread, by climbing higher and stirring water with its claw. I don't know what's up with the freshwater sources in warmer climates, but they blow. Have you ever swam in lake and accidentally snorted a little bit of water? Not a pleasurable experience, right? especially unpleasurable when this water contains Nagliria fovleri parasite. It's also known as brain-eating amoeba. However, it is not a typical parasite since it usually eats bacteria, and our brain is just an alternative source of energy. It can be found in warm freshwater lakes, rivers and hot springs. So, when you accidentally take in water through your nose, you are pretty much screwed unless you fight this thing with medicine before it incubates inside the head. If you swallow this water into your stomach, this amoeba would die. The scary part is that there is no effective treatment and the death rate is 97%. It is hyper deadly but not visually disturbing as other parasites. Even though various bugs help spreading parasites, some bugs actually act like parasites. For example, wasps. One type of wasp, called by the name which suspiciously almost sounds like good friend, injects psychotropic substance into the spiders. Then it lays a tiny egg on its abdomen, and when it hatches, the larva sucks spider juices until there's nothing left but an empty husk. Sounds like a good Friday night. But before sucking it dry and killing, larva injects spider some chemicals which makes it spin a weirder pattern web which is stronger one than those of unafflicted spiders. Then this larva spins a cocoon and attaches itself to the strong web which keeps it safe. Imagine a parasite which keeps sucking you dry and makes you build a house, then kicks you out. Another wasp called Glypopantellus uses caterpillar as hosts for their babies. First, wasp lays eggs inside the caterpillar, then these eggs eat it from inside out, emerge through the skin, but somehow caterpillar is left alive. Not only that, but due to various chemical processes, its mind is altered. It watches over wasp larvae and if disturbed, it thrashes violently, scaring off various predators like for example shield bug. Since it became like some sort of a guard zombie, the caterpillar doesn't eat and dies out of hunger. What is especially creepy is that some of wasp larvae stays behind inside the caterpillar and somehow control its behavior to protect the rest of the brothers and sisters. The caterpillar drivers basically die inside the caterpillar for the family. Speaking about zombies, there is one wasp which is called emerald cockroach wasp. This wasp injects cockroach with special venom which makes it docile, render its escape function useless, then chews its antenna and leads it like some sort of a dog on a leash inside a burrow. Then it lays eggs under the cockroach, goes outside, covers the bug with debris and Bob is your uncle. Then cockroach, just like a puppet, stays in this burrow until it serves wasp larvae as a feeding host. To me, this one is probably the most visually disturbing parasite, and it doesn't even affect humans. This is a type of flatworm which affects birds and snails. When they get inside the land snail, they start feeding and turning themselves into a pulsating sack of horror. By the way, this is not a standalone worm which is pulsating in the eyes and tentacles of a snail. Full body of this parasite looks like this. And for some reason birds are attracted to these things, maybe because they resemble caterpillars. Also, as usual, this parasite also alters its host's behavior and makes it more outgoing. So maybe introverted snails get something out of this. Once bird eats the thing, it infects bird's butthole, which becomes breeding ground for such parasite. Then bird poops everything including parasite eggs out. Later, a poor snail slithers and eats the poop and the cycle is continued. Why it's so disgusting? Sleeping sickness doesn't mean you sleep like a sleeping beauty, no. It means that sleeping pattern becomes highly irregular. This disease is caused by a parasitic infection of a Trypanosoma brucei, a single-celled bastard. They are delivered by tsetse flies which previously gorged themselves with blood from parasite-infested animal. Once these parasites get into the bloodstream, they of course have to migrate to victims' brains, causing neurological damage. If untreated, this disease is 99.99999% deadly. You can be infected for years and not know anything about it until one day symptoms appear and that's when it's too late for treatment. So in my opinion, this is perhaps the most dangerous parasitic disease out there. Okay, even though this parasite is not the deadliest, in my opinion this is one of the most disgusting creatures ever. I have good news though, this type of parasite is about to be eradicated. In 2023 there were just 14 cases, which is insane because 70 years ago there were tens of millions of infected people. If we succeed at complete eradication, it will be the second human disease eradicated after the smallpox. This parasite is not very deadly, maybe 0.1%. However, it is absolutely disturbing, incredibly painful and difficult to deal with. People get infected through drinking dirty water in warmer climates. Once they get it, this worm lives in a body for 1 year, and later, after digging through various human tissue, it emerges like some sort of an alien. And it does that very slowly. It can take it around 2 months to completely leave its host. Not only that, but female guinea worms can reach lengths up to 1 meter long or 3 feet. By the way, there is no medication or vaccine, and it has to be extracted slowly to not separate the worm's body, otherwise it may die and start rotting inside the human body. When I said that this disease may be eradicated, it doesn't mean that these parasites will be wiped out, more like that humans now are more educated and know how to drink cleaner water. Here's a cool fact. This parasite infects half of human population. That's about 4 billion people. You might even have it right now and there is no cure. What is this beast that lays dormant inside our bodies? This is a single-celled parasite which exclusively reproduces only in cats. Interestingly, this parasite also manipulates rodents' mind, making them more fearless and easier to hunt by the cats. It is not clear if these parasites affect people's behavior, however, some scientists believe that they may cause various psychological illnesses and cognitive problems. If this is true, then this might be one of the biggest contributors to human psychological problems in the world. So we can get it through cleaning cat litter boxes and eating or drinking contaminated stuff. Once we get it for life, and it can stay dormant as long as our immune system stays strong. If it gets weak, all the hell breaks loose. People start feeling flu-like symptoms and the immune system forms cysts around these parasites in order to contain them. These cysts damage our tissues and leave cysts for entire life. The reason for such high rating is that it lives in so many people. Most of us don't even know it. There is no medication for cysts, they live, and also it possibly alters our mind and behavior.